Here in Australia, sometime soon, this year, 2022, is going to be a federal election. I don't know about you guys, but I can't remember the last time I actually voted. When I say voted, putting in an actual formal vote. It's compulsory to vote here in Australia. If you don't, you get fined. So what I normally do is just go to the polling booth, get my name crossed off, sometimes just scribble things like, oh, you're all criminals on the form, or I'll put vote one for my favourite football player, or just recently just throw the form in the bin. But I believe this election is, without doubt, the most important election in my lifetime. And I believe we should all vote. All vote. When I say all vote, we need to get rid of the two major parties, Labor and the Liberal coalition with the National Party, as well as the Greens. You can add them in as well. People will say, I know, you're not going to get rid of them. They've been in power since God knows how long. I think the 1940s. Either the Labor or Liberal Party has been the government here in Australia, and they just take turns. We know they're two wings of the same bird, or two sides of the one coin, left and right paradigm. As you know, here in Australia, we have a preferential voting system. I guarantee 90, 95%, even more, people who actually vote would not have a friggin' clue how the preferential voting system works. No idea. I never had a clue either until I did a bit of a research recently. And I'm just going to show you a simplistic, as the thunder is roaring outside here in Melbourne, I'm going to show a simplistic view of how the preferential system works. I might not be 100%, don't quote me on everything I say, but this is basically how it works. The government gets voted in the House of Representatives, so that's what we concentrate on here. As you know, there's going to be a lot of new parties being formed, but when you go to vote in your electorate, there's basically up to, or a minimum of 2, could be anything up to 9 different parties you can vote for in the House of Reps. So I'm just going to put in 9, as we are here: the Labor, Liberal, Greens, One Nation, GAP, the Great Australian Party, Australia One, that's Ricardo Bosi, United Australia Party, that's Craig Kelly with, what's his name, Clive Palmer. I'll put in Reignite Democracy with Morgan Jonas, and this one here, Informed Medical Options Party. Well, the idea of preferential voting, when I say the idea, the way we can use preferential voting to actually eliminate Labor and Liberal is what you do. If you've got a preference for a one of the smaller parties, let's just say One Nation, okay? I'm going to put in there 1. Let's just go Australia 1, 2. We'll put Reignite 3. We'll go United Australia 4. As you can see, I'm leaving out the top 3. We'll go 5, 6. I mean, I'm just making these up. Doesn't really, it's not actually how I feel, but yeah. So I make sure I put a number from the first 6 in the bottom 6, the smaller parties, and we make sure that the top 3 are given the highest numbers. So we'll go the Greens 7, Liberals 8, Labor 9. We must always put Liberal and Labor the last two numbers. If you want the green, I don't know. But Liberal and Labor, the last two. Because this is how it works. Let's just use for an example, this electorate has 100,000 voters, okay? For a party to win the electorate, it has to have a majority of over a half, which in this case will be 50,001. So it's virtually a race to 50,001 votes to win this electorate, okay? So what we do a count, which we call our first count. We do a count on all our first preferential votes, all the, the boxes that we've ticked a 1 in, put the 1 in. That is our first count. So let's just, have a rough thing to play here. Labor 25,000, Libs 22, Greens 7, One Nation 15, Gap 10, Australia 1 8, goes down 643. So as you know, no one's even close to 50,001. But look at this, you'd think Labor or Liberals will win because they're well out in front. You can take it as a horse race. The horse that jumps out first and leads doesn't necessarily win. It's the horse that comes to the finishing post first that wins. So what happens in preferential voting, if there's a no decision after the first count, we eliminate the bottom party here, which in this case is Informed Medical Options Party. So we remove that. So there's 3,000 votes that we're going to remove here. And what happens to those 3,000 votes? Well, we look at the 3,000 votes from that party and we look at what their second preference was, and that's called the second count. So we give all the second preferences added to the first preference votes to the other parties. So obviously they're going to preference other parties as their second. And I'm using an example, One Nation is a party that we all should, preference second. It's always best that all these little parties preference one party as their second, nomination, as long as it's not Labor, Libs or Greens. So I'm hoping it's like One Nation. So what's happened here, 2,500 votes from the first party that's just been removed, 2,500 second votes went to the One Nation and 500 went to GAP. So still we're well short of 50,000. So what happens now? We remove Reignite Democracy from the game. And there's 4,000 votes going to be removed. So from those 4,000 votes, 3,500 had number two, the number two preference for Reignite Democracy. 3,500. So you add that to the 17.5, makes it 21. 500 went to GAP, makes that 11. Still, we're well short of 50,000. And mind you, these guys up here aren't getting any votes because, as I mentioned, we put them right down the bottom. Second votes, no way. Don't even give them a sniff. Probably going to ask, what happens if the Reignite Democracy gave its second vote to the first party that was eliminated? Well, in that case, you go to the third vote in this case, which could be, One Nation. So they will get the third vote, and so on. So now we're still well short of 50,001. So United Australia Party, 6,000 votes, gets eliminated. So once again, 6,000 votes. Second preference for UAP, 5,000 went to One Nation, 1,000 to GAP. So lo and behold, One Nation's all of a sudden hit the front. They have hit the front, even though they were miles behind on first preferential votes. See how easy this could, happen? But we're still well short of 50,000. So let's keep going. Australia won, gets eliminated with their 8,000 votes. So 8,000 votes, thankfully, 7,000 of them went to One Nation, and 1,000 goes to GAP. So One Nation's flying. One Nation's flying because all these smaller parties have put as their second preference One Nation, if not second, third. So there you go. But still, we're well short of 50,000, so it looks like the GAP has to go. So now, GAP, 13,000 votes. They have second preference One Nation in 12,000 of those votes, and 1,000 went to the Greens, because all the other ones, it can't go to those ones that have been eliminated already. So 45,000 we've hit. We're still 50,000. We're shy 5,001 of the number of votes that we need. So what happens now? Yes, the Greens are eliminated. Then we come to the 7th count, and all 8,000 Green votes have gone to One Nation because the Greens don't like the Libs and Labor. Well, guess what? One Nation becomes the government. I know that's a simplistic way of putting things, and very unlikely that's how it's going to unfold, but it can be done. It can be done. We can eliminate these two bastards. I'm not saying One Nation is my preference. I don't know. But even if we don't eliminate Labor and Liberal and they still govern, at least we can get so many more of the independent parties, independents into Parliament, whether it's the House of Reps or in the Senate. But it's just a basic way of doing how preferential voting goes. I'm not an expert on this. Hopefully you understood it. Pretty rough sort of a way of doing things, but very, very simplistic. And yeah, hopefully we all get out to vote and just stay away from Labor and Liberal and choose whoever you like, whether it be One Nation, whether it be United Party, Australia One, whatever. But let's not give a single sniff to these pieces of scum who, words fail me, they're not governments at all. They're corrupt. They're corrupt as we've seen in the last 2 years. Doesn't matter whether you're, Liberal in the federal government or if you're Labor in the Victorian government with Dan Andrews. They are filthy scum. They are filthy scum, and as long as we use this system, there has to be a way to get out of it. But of course, the best result is that we remove this system. God knows how we could run countries, but we've got to get rid of the rats first and see how we go from there. So, all right, hopefully that's made some sense to a lot of people. A lot of people just like me who had no idea how the whole preferential system works. So there you go. Good luck when the election comes, and let's vote these bastards out.